Hey, welcome to All Things Social Security. You're about to see a question from a live viewer and my response, and it may or may not have an attached additional set of information for you, but you'll see a little invitation to that if that's the case. If what you're looking for is representation and you want us to take a look at your claim, please go to joydisability.com and look in your upper left-hand corner for the link for the free SSD evaluation. And we will take care of that for you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Enjoy the video. John says, if I retire at 62, how can I get health insurance? That's like saying, how can I go out to dinner every night? Can you afford it? Go buy it. That's all. We all work to pay for what we need in our lives. So if you retire at 62, you do that usually with an eyeball towards, can I afford to retire at 62? Or do I have to wait till at least 65 so I can get Medicare? And then remember, of course, there's premiums with Medicare and there's co-pays. And deductibles. That's another thing to think about. Can I afford to retire at 65, or will those things blow me out of the water if I'm on limited retirement income because I don't have a lot of retirement income? And should I be buying a supplement policy on top of the traditional Medicare premium because I know I'm going to have many doctor visits because I'm not the healthiest person, and that will cover all the copays and deductibles. Getting one of those sup plans. It's an extra expense every month, but it's kind of like a form of relief. I mean, when my mother was here, we got her, it was one of the top sup plans. It cost an extra couple $100 a month, but she lived with us so she could afford it. She wasn't worried, had to pay, commercial rent someplace and Uber drivers or fill her tank with gas or anything like that. So when you're staying with family, like when the family stays together, when the parents get older, a lot more can be afforded because there is not double the rent. There is not this, that, and the other thing. It's not two households being made up. So she could have that. And what was nice about it, John, was anytime I took to the doctor, she got covered by any doctor that takes Medicare. And then the sup plan kicks in all those 80-20 splits. When you got to pay 20% of a $10,000 bill, that's, $2,000. So it covered all that. And I don't think it covered like $200 deductible or something like that, which I think they've gotten rid of the one plan that did, because I just feel like the G is it the G that's gone and she is the F or something like that. But it all depends on, what your situation is. If someone has very, very low Social Security and they're retiring at 62, they might be, you got to look at your state. Maybe you have state welfare insurance like the Medicaid that you can look into. But, when we choose to retire early, it's really no one else's business to decide how we're going to pay for the things we want, whether it's health insurance or pay as you go or groceries, or I like to go out to dinner twice a month to a fancy restaurant. Like that's what we adults have to figure out for ourselves, right? Sounds harsh, right? You're not used to it. But it's just reality. Think about before there was even Social Security. People did this for eons. It's only in the last century, very recently, that this kind of socialized Social Security came into play to take that responsibility to some degree, away from each adult. And John, if you were disabled from working, and that's why you want to retire at 62, file for SSD, because then if you get it, you'll at least get Medicare after 24 months of back benefits or forward benefits. So that could speed it up a little bit. And it will also save you from taking early retirement at 62, which is going to decimate your benefit for the rest of your life. It's like a 35% cut. So do you want to take it at 62 so you don't have to work, but you're going to living on 1/3 less? Yikes. Everyone's got a different story. I know mine doesn't go that way. If I get disabled and can't work, I will definitely file for SSD and hopefully prevail. But yeah, I just it really depends. Like some people are like, I only have $8,000 a month. How can I afford health insurance? Well, you best try. Then there's people that are living on $1,000 a month, and they're the ones that are probably going to be able to get Medicaid, the welfare health insurance. So you just got to do your due diligence there, okay? And that Medicaid is state involved. It's not really federal involved. Hey, and welcome to All Things Social Security. My name is Stephanie Joy of Joy Disability, and you're about to see a piece of what goes on with our Wednesday live Q&A session. Robert Bruce says, I have a question. I'm 100% disabled, mental and physical, in my 60s. I got on disability in 2003. I think I have Medicaid, but they said if I tried taking a job, I would lose my Medicaid, like answering phone. If you're on Medicaid, that means that you're on the poorer side. You could have SSI, Robert, or you have D. Remember, SSI is the welfare program called Supplemental Security Income. It is handled by the SSA as one of the disability programs, the other one being SSDI or SSD, Social Security Disability. I know they make those acronyms very similar. I think one almost has to think they did that by design to confuse people. One is welfare, SSI. One is not welfare. It's insurance that you bought, SSD. So if you were a worker sufficiently close in time to when you filed and claimed to be disabled, that would be SSD. However, and sometimes people with SSD, you're eligible for Medicare, but if your SSD is low enough, you might be poor enough for Medicaid as well. And sometimes a person could be dual eligible, and sometimes the Medicaid will pay the Medicare premium, which is like $180 or $185 a month. Plus, it may pay for the copays and the deductible for the Medicare, because Medicare is more like regular insurance. Medicaid is kind of like everything's free for the recipient. It's welfare for, needs based. They need it, supposedly, and most do. I think they're saying if you take a job, your income might go up such that you are no longer poor enough for the Medicaid. So your Medicaid program, which is a local program, each state kind of gears it the way they want it. You want to find out, well, can I earn anything and keep my Medicaid given what I have from SSI or SSD? You really want to maybe talk to a caseworker there and find out. Because I know if you're kind of jonesing to do a little bit of part-time work, which I think is great because it's great for the mental, it can be great for the physical, getting you up and out there, social, all that kind of stuff. Just find out what, if anything, can you do in terms of earning money at a gainful job, but very, very part-time. Maybe they'll say you could do 6 hours a week if you're only making $12 an hour. Maybe not. But you got to find out before you risk it, I'd say. Hey there, that was one of our little Q&A clips. I hope you found it informative or helpful or just enjoyable. I am attaching a related video that we have put together a while back that is on a similar topic and or an extension of what we were just talking about. So if you needed some more information on that, that's a place to start. You can also look in our playlists. There is a ton of them. I think there's over 1,000 videos. So there's almost every topic in the world touched upon in some way, shape, or form. And again, as a reminder, you can always put in the comments any kind of question you have, even if it's unrelated to this or any other video. I will talk to you later. Carry on. Good morning again. Medicaid and Medicare when we're disabled. Okay, so we know some of the differences. Medicare, which we get normally when we're of retirement age, if we worked and paid in for it, we kick in at 65. For people who become Social Security disabled because they had earned and paid for Social Security disability insurance status, they will get Medicare well before 65 if they are younger when they are on Social Security disability, because generally after about 24 months worth of payments, and they could be lump sum retroactive, when you prevail, you could actually automatically at that time be eligible for Medicare, either currently and or retroactively as well. Other times, if you are found disabled, but it's less than 29 months ago, you are going to have to wait for your Medicare waiting period to be over. So the waiting period is 24 months worth of entitlement to monthly benefits. So because the first 5 months is a waiting period for almost everybody, that makes it 29 months from the date of onset as a general rule. Now, sometimes you can be Medicare eligible and entitled due to having Social Security disability, but your disability benefit amount is very low. Maybe you didn't work for very many years or at a very high rate, or you were only part-time, but enough to get Social Security disability. You might have a low enough income level if you don't have alternative income sources, to also get Medicaid. And that's through your state and your county offices there, because that usually generally applies for disabled and poorer people. So if you have a very low disability payment, and again, I'm talking about SSD and not SSI necessarily. SSI, yes, you're going to get the Medicaid. But with SSD, you might also, it's called dual eligibility, and you can have both Medicare and Medicaid. And the nice part about that is that the Medicaid generally pays for the Medicare premiums, because Medicare does come with premiums. So if you're low enough income, you'll have both. One will be primary, generally, that would be Medicare, and then Medicaid would be secondary, and it will cover potentially the Medicare premiums for you, which is, $170 or whatever it is. It changes year to year, as well as copays and potentially deductibles. So that is something to look in. If you have a relatively low, like under the average for sure, Social Security disability benefit amount, inquire as to Medicaid. You might just be eligible for it, and it will leave that premium, that monthly premium, back in your check. You won't have to be expending $170 out of your $1,400 check or whatever it is. So definitely something to look into, dual eligibility. It can be really helpful for those with lower primary insurance amounts for Social Security disability. Okay, hope that helps. Bye. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Bye-bye now.